So Braviary definitely a decent metagame call for this choice if you're planning on going up against a lot of Intimidates. And we see here there is an Arcanine on the opposing team, so if you're able to get Braviary in and allow it to get the Defiant boost from Arcanine's Intimidate, if it's even holding something like an Adrenaline Orb, it can just become such a monster, just dealing out so much damage and being faster than pretty much everything on the opposing team. So if you're William, you've got to watch out. You don't want to give that Braviary an Intimidate, but you kind of have to bring Arcanine considering there's both a Celesteela and a Ninetales, which Arcanine is so good against.
And also being able to intimidate that Garchomp and Hariyama as well. So, you know, Ashton's team does have a lot of things that really bait the opponent into bringing Arcanines, but you know what? That can easily be punished by that Braviary. Adrenaline Orb, if it is what that Braviary is holding, like you mentioned, don't see too much of it really in competitive play. It is a very useful item to attach towards Pokemon with the competitive or the Defiant ability.
Yep, it is.
It's sometimes just not worth it.
Yeah, sometimes you want an item that boosts power. Instead, this one, it's going to boost speed, but it's very situational. You do need to get Intimidated. If Braviary never gets Intimidated, it's never taking advantage of either Defiant or that Adrenaline Orb, so that's an item and an ability slot going to waste there. But if you do get Intimidated, then it pays huge dividends. I also want to look at that Togedemaru, because I think there's a decent chance we end up seeing it. There's a Tapu Koko on Ashton's team, and 2 Pokemon that are going to be weak to Electric in the Braviary and the Celesteela, so maybe we do see the Togedemaru, which has showed a lot of popularity here this weekend, and there's the blush of Togedemaru. So
Togedemaru will play a very powerful support role, especially with that Lightning Rod ability, trying to prevent Tapu Koko from being able to go for Thunderbolts into Tapu Fini and Celesteela. Here we are. It looks like Braviary is going to be taking the field with that Ninetales on the other side, as Togedemaru and Tapu Fini are the leads for William Tansley. Usually when you have a Togedemaru paired with a Tapu Fini, this Tapu Fini is definitely going to be looking towards setting up. It looks like the Misty Terrain is going to go ahead and take effect while Ninetales brings out the Hail.
Yeah, really good lead position here for William. He's got the Togedemaru threatening Fake Out pressure onto both of these 2 Pokemon. If it decides to go for a Zing Zap at some point, that's going to deal super effective damage to Braviary. He didn't lead his Arcanine, so he's not powering up the Braviary. If Ninetales wants to go for an attack, it's not really doing much damage to 2 resisted Pokemon. An Aurora Veil, if it's carrying it, is going to be much more beneficial in this scenario. But of course, if Togedemaru just goes to Fake Out that slot, I mean, it's not going to get set up, and if it has a Focus Sash, it's just going to get broken.
Ninetales here protecting, possibly wanting to keep that Focus Sash intact and not get flinched for no reason. Braviary also following suit and protecting. This could open up doors for Tansley now to set up with that Tapu Fini with a possible Calm Mind, and no, Tapu Fini goes straight for a Moonblast into that Braviary slot.
Yeah, so Ashton just wants to protect. He wants to conserve his potential Focus Sash on the Ninetales rather than risk getting hit with, you know, the Fake Out breaking it and then maybe the Braviary getting hit by the Tapu Fini. So Protect very conservative there against a Fake Out user. However, now that you've burned Protect last turn, you're probably going to want to switch out Braviary, especially staring down a Togedemaru. I don't know what Ashton can really switch in here. Garchomp would be a good switch in, but if Tapu Fini targets that same slot with a Moonblast again, that could be really risky.
Yeah, and of course, Celesteela can come in as well to take that Moonblast from that Tapu Fini a little bit better, but also you have to watch out for that Zing Zap, vice versa. Celesteela now going to switch in on William Tansley's side here, going to be able to take any attack really that Braviary can throw. Togedemaru protecting itself, going to try to, well, its Focus Sash is broken now. Ninetales going for an Encore here, so instead now is threatened to get Encored in a Spiky Shield, as it looks like Braviary is going to take to the skies and go for a Brave Bird here into that Celesteela slot, not doing that much damage thanks to that resistance and that huge bulk from that Celesteela. Yep, there you go. And now, again, more chip damage around the table from that Hail.
Yep, and that chip damage is important. Togedemaru, a Pokemon that does commonly carry the Focus Sash, so having that broken is going to pay dividends later in the match, considering Togedemaru is pretty frail. But the Celesteela coming in, you know, in a really good spot here. It threatens the Ninetales with a heavy slam. Even Braviary not really threatening much damage to either of these Pokemon. And Celesteela, even a heavy slam would deal a lot to Braviary as well. Togedemaru, I mean, it might get locked into Spiky Shield from that Encore that Ninetales just showed, but if Ninetales stays in, it risks taking a big heavy slam from the Celesteela.
Yeah, and that's going to do massive amounts of damage. Of course, Ninetales on the other side is a Pokemon that tend to carry Focus Sash as well, but it doesn't take any damage from the Hail. Ninetales going for that Blizzard here, going to connect on both Togedemaru and Celesteela. Neutral damage on that Celesteela, as Togedemaru is free to go for a Zing Zap here. And of course, where there's a Zing Zap, there's a chance for a flinch or just picking up the KO straight up. Powerful, powerful Zing Zap right there from that Togedemaru, as Tansley now takes the first KO, and it looks like now that Heavy Slam is going to go ahead and crush that Ninetales, but Ninetales does have that Focus Sash still intact, so great turn right there from William.
Yeah, amazing turn there for William, picking up the knockout on the Braviary and bringing Ninetales all the way down to Sash, and Togedemaru didn't even get locked into the spiky shield. Ninetales instead going for a Blizzard. Maybe Ashton saw just how powerful a Blizzard can be in some of those previous rounds that we've seen. Rather than kind of predicting maybe a Tapu Fini to switch back in, doesn't want to go for the Encore in that slot. Instead, goes for the Blizzard, tries to get some damage done onto Celesteela, which is a pretty tough Pokemon to take down, so even a little bit of damage from Blizzard could end up being beneficial later. Unfortunately, you lose a Pokemon for it, you lose Ninetales, almost all of its HP, so not a good situation here for Ashton.
Yeah, and like you said, there was that freeze chance on that Celesteela because it is actually floating and not inflicted by the Misty Terrain, so maybe that was an out right there to kind of keep that Ninetales' Sash intact.
Yep, exactly, but unfortunately, freezes aren't very likely. I shouldn't say unfortunately, that's more fortunately, but...
It's all about perspective, isn't
That's
it?
right.
Garchomp now going to go ahead and take the field and replace the fallen Braviary. Has a very good matchup against this Togedemaru because Togedemaru, besides Fake Out, really its only attacking move is Zing Zap.
Yeah, but that is enough to finish off the Ninetales should it get an attack off. Garchomp, though, definitely good against Togedemaru, but can't really damage Celesteela a whole lot unless it has something like Swords Dance plus Fire Fang, which is definitely common, and we do see the Fire Fang there.
And of course, with Fire Fang, there is a chance to flinch that Celesteela as well. Ninetales content on going Blizzard, but hey, why flinch when you can just pick up the KO right here? And it does get the KO on that Celesteela. Togedemaru now heavily damaged, almost in range to get KO'd. Togedemaru going for that Zing Zap here, going to be able to pick up the KO on that Ninetales as well. So here we go, Ashton down to his final 2 Pokemon.
Yeah, but you still have Tapu Fini in the back. That's going to be really good against Garchomp. You do lose Celesteela, and you can now see why Ashton decided to go for the Blizzard the turn before, because it was just enough to put Celesteela into KO range this following turn from the double up from the Fire Fang and the Blizzard. Togedemaru, though, picking up the knockout, knocking Ashton down to only 2 remaining Pokemon, and here Tapu Fini looks like it's going to have a fantastic matchup against both of these 2 Pokemon.
Yeah, and now Hariyama takes the field. Tapu Fini also takes the field as well. Hariyama, of course, a very heavy hitter. I believe he's actually one of your favorite Pokemon, Ray, since he was a part of your 2010 World Championship team, but it doesn't look good for Hariyama in this matchup right now in this game.
No, Tapu Fini just threatens so much damage here on both of these 2 Pokemon. Garchomp, though, we don't know what kind of set it has. Maybe it's trained to be a little bit more especially bulky and is able to take a Moonblast pretty well. Hariyama, though, might have something like a Poison Jab, you never know.
Tapu Fini switching out here, going to replace with the Arcanine and immediately gets an Intimidate off onto both these physical attackers here. So a big Intimidate as Garchomp using Fire Fang here, going to hit into that Tapu Fini slot, perhaps signifying that it might be locked into it as Togedemaru goes for an Encore into that slot right there. It fails though, so now, well, more information for Ashton because that knockoff connects onto the Arcanine.
Yeah, it shows Garchomp's item there, showing that Choice Scarf, most likely considering it went for another Fire Fang. Togedemaru probably going for the Encore, predicting a Hariyama Fake Out into the Tapu Fini slot. Very safe play there by William, very smart play, getting Arcanine in to intimidate both physical attackers, preserving Tapu Fini. In case that Garchomp wasn't Choice Scarf, Hariyama might have gone for a Fake Out, so very safe play there, going for the Encore in case Hariyama did go for a Fake Out, and then bringing Arcanine in, get the Intimidate off, just to preserve Tapu Fini for later when you know for sure that it's going to be kept safe.
Yep, and now it looks like the timer is coming down. I just really don't see that many outs for Ashton because, Tapu Fini can easily just come back in. Garchomp really isn't a threat locked into that Fire Fang. Tapu Fini can easily just go for a Moonblast in that Hariyama slot and then easily deal with that Garchomp afterwards. Togedemaru does get KO'd by that Fire Fang, and now Hariyama going for a close combat. If that landed, that would have just ensured that Tapu Fini would be able to get the KO with a Moonblast because it would drop Hariyama's defenses.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult here for Ashton. He's going to need Poison Jab on the Hariyama, and, it's not a super common move on it, though it is occasionally seen. But you're going to need a whole bunch of Fire Fang flinches. Even then, it's going to be just really difficult because of how good of a situation this Tapu Fini is in.
Yep, and here we go, going into what are pretty much the final turns of this game here between William Tansley and Ashton Cox. And again, another Fire Fang, pretty much securing the fact that this Garchomp is going to be locked into it with a Choice Scarf. Arcanine on William's side now going for a Flare Blitz, going to connect onto that Hariyama, doing big damage right there, bringing it down to a little under 40%. Tapu Fini using Moonblast, it is going to be able to connect onto that Garchomp, and wow, that is a lot of damage, and that is a KO. So now Garchomp is off the field, and now Hariyama gets the move, goes for a close combat here, going to hit into that Arcanine. It should be enough to get the KO, and it is. So now it's going to be Tapu Fini versus Hariyama, but again, with that special defense drop and the fact that Hariyama's already hit really hard and not going for a poison jab, probably signifying that that Hariyama doesn't have what it takes to take on this Tapu Fini.
No, and Tapu Fini is going to be faster and easily able to pick up the knockout there with another Moonblast. So William's going to take this game 1. Very well played set by both sides. As for adjustments looking into the next game, maybe if you're Ashton, try and conserve your Pokemon a little bit better. Losing 2 Pokemon very quickly, we saw Braviary go down right away, Ninetales get knocked down right away. You were able to take out the Celesteal, which is nice, but it looks like this Tapu Fini is just really difficult to take down, especially combined with the Togedemaru, considering Tapu Koko is Ashton's big way to get rid of Tapu Fini.
Yep, and the players exchange handshakes here. William Tansley's Tapu Fini goes for a Moonblast and picks up the KO on Ashton's Hariyama. And there you have it. William Tansley takes game 1 here of round 6. Both players 4-1. William Tansley is 1 game away from making it to the top cut of the 2017 World Championships. Ashton needs 2 more game wins in order to make it to the top cut.
Yep, and if I'm William, I don't really see the need to change much of anything. I love the way that he preserved this Tapu Fini for the end. You know, it was even in a good spot early in the game against the Ninetales and the Braviary. It could have just stayed in, but instead he decided to preserve it, felt that he had better options like the Celesteela, knew that Tapu Fini was going to be crucial to winning this matchup, especially combined with Togedemaru, because Ashton's team, like I mentioned, it's got such a tough way of dealing with Tapu Fini if Togedemaru is out there at the same time. So Tapu Fini, definitely a prime option for sweeping Ashton's team. So if I'm William, I just play exactly like I did in game 1, preserve the Tapu Fini, you know, maybe sacrifice some of my other Pokemon like Celesteela in order to take out, you know, potential problems for Tapu Fini like Ninetales. Could always have Freeze Dry, which will do a lot of damage. Braviary, I mean, if it gets powered up, you know, with the Defiant, it could start doing a lot of damage to Tapu Fini. So taking that out early was also key before the Arcanine ever came in. So if I'm William, I just play the same way in game number 2.
It was also brilliant of William to preserve that Arcanine for later on. You know, not leading it up in the front, not leading it blind into that possible Braviary Defiant. You know, instead saving it, looking at all of Ashton's options to figure out when the best time was in order to get that Arcanine in.
Yep, exactly. And if I'm Ashton, I'm really focusing on Tapu Fini. The reverse is true for him. He's got to take down the Tapu Fini. Even some damage on it is going to be key, because if you can get it low enough, even something like a Garchomp could be able to take it out in an end game. Like we saw there, it got locked into Fire Fang, but imagine if it was locked into something, you know, that would do a lot more damage, something like an Earthquake instead. If Tapu Fini gets low enough, then maybe that Garchomp Earthquake can pick up the KO. So if I'm Ashton, I really want to focus down that Tapu Fini. Maybe I even switch things up and decide to bring the Tapu Koko, even though William has the Togedemaru, just because of how difficult it's going to be to take out the Tapu Fini.
And here we go, getting into game 2 right now between these 2 top players of the world. William Tansley from the United Kingdom versus Ashton Cox of the United States. William Tansley not changing it up at all, gonna go straight into Tapu Fini and that Togedemaru, whereas Ashton gonna lead with the last 2 Pokemon standing on his field from the previous game with the Garchomp and the Hariyama.
Yep, so again, Tapu Fini in a good spot here, threatens a lot of damage onto both of these 2 Pokemon. Garchomp, we saw what item it has, so that could be, you know, pretty tough for Ashton to try and maneuver a way out of it. Now the Hariyama next to it is going to be very beneficial, because if Togedemaru decides to fake out Garchomp knowing that it can't protect and then double up into it with the Tapu Fini slot, Hariyama can simply fake out Tapu Fini and it'll just be a dead turn. Nothing will end up happening. So Togedemaru probably doesn't want to fake out Garchomp. You get nothing out of it. You break your potential Focus Sash, and Hariyama can trade fake outs. So if I'm William, either I switch out Tapu Fini, try and conserve it for later. Maybe this is a good time to bring Celesteela in, or maybe I just risk Tapu Fini getting hit by something like a Poison Jab, although, like I mentioned before the match, I think Tapu Fini is going to be key here. I don't think I really want to risk it to, you know, getting low so early in this match.
That timer was pretty close to running out right there on William's side as Togedemaru goes for a fake out there. into the Hariyama, as Hariyama also tried to go for a fake out as well. Garchomp gets to go for an Earthquake, gonna bring Togedemaru down to the Focus Sash and also damaging his own Hariyama over there, as now Tapu Fini gets to go for a Dazzling Gleam and does so much damage right there, picking up the KO on that Hariyama, and of course now threatening a KO on the Garchomp over on Ashton's side as well.
Yeah, so William really changing things up there, decides he wants to pick up the KOs there. Dazzling Gleam going to do a lot of damage to Garchomp and knock out the Hariyama with the help from Ashton's own Garchomp. And Togedemaru decides to risk all of its HP. Unfortunately, now the Hail's coming out, so Togedemaru's just, it's so close to going down. A simple Hail Tick will knock it out, but still maybe a good turn. Tapu Fini didn't take much damage. Garchomp right now is locked into Earthquake. That's going to do a lot to Ninetales. I don't think you want to keep Garchomp in here, and William can take that knowledge and really make a better educated play than he would be able to if Garchomp, either he didn't know the item or if it wasn't Choice Scarf. But knowing that it's locked into a move that deals heavy damage to Ninetales, he can play a lot differently.
It's also really tempting, though, because if you go for an Earthquake and a Freeze Dry in that Tapu Fini slot, that should be the KO, and to be able to remove a big threat over on William's side is tempting to do, but
yeah,
is it
the only
worth
problem
it?
If Tapu Fini comes in or switches out into something like a Celesteela, then you just do a ton of damage to Ninetales and get nothing out of it.
Yep, and here we go. Togedemaru switches out into Celesteela. That means that Tapu Fini might stay out on the field. Garchomp goes for an Earthquake. No switches here on Ashton's side. That is going to hit the Tapu Fini. It is also going to break that Ninetales Focus Sash right there, and now Ninetales gets to go. It should be in Freeze Dry range. Very tempting to do so. Is it going to be enough to get the KO? It is enough to get the KO. Big, big knockout right there.
Yeah, I would have loved to see the reverse there. I would have loved to see Celesteela come in the Tapu Fini slot, preserving Tapu Fini for later, because you have to imagine, Freeze Dry is decently common on Ninetales, and a double up is going to knock it out. And even if Garchomp did decide to switch out, even just keeping Tapu Fini around for later is fine. So I think bringing Celesteela in for the Tapu Fini slot would have been a safe play and would have worked out great. But you're still in a fantastic spot here. Celesteela and Arcanine are great against both Ninetales and Garchomp, especially since Ninetales no longer has its Sash intact. It's getting pretty low on HP. Garchomp as well getting low with the Hail ticking, maybe even an Extreme Speed. Could take out Garchomp in another turn. And Celesteela really not threatened at all by either of these two Pokemon, unless it gets frozen by Blizzard.
Yeah, and even then, a Heavy Slam should be enough to get the KO on that Garchomp as well. And Celesteela is in no way even threatened to get KO'd by that Ninetales, but of course, where there's a Blizzard, there's always that chance for a freeze.
Yeah, the one downside of being a flying type here, you get to avoid the Earthquake, but you're not immune to freezes.
Yep, so it's going to be, this is going to play out very interestingly here. Garchomp on Ashton's side, going to switch out, going to go ahead and go into Tapu Koko and also change the terrain. So now the freeze is an option here for that Ninetales if Ashton wants to try to fish for some freezes here, as Ninetales instead protects, wanting to preserve it for just a little bit longer. The Tapu Koko does have a much better matchup now. Arcanine going for a Flare Blitz, though, going to hit into what was that Garchomp slot, doing a lot of damage to that Tapu Koko, about 60% right there, as now Celesteela gets to go for a move, going to go for a Heavy Slam into that Tapu Koko slot, which was that Garchomp, which was smart. Double up into that slot that the Garchomp can't protect.
Exactly. Garchomp's not going to stay in. Ninetales, is almost guaranteed to protect there, no matter whether Garchomp stays in or switches out. So fantastic play doubling up into that slot. It was super safe. It would have, no matter what ended up, whatever Ashton ended up doing, it was going to be a great turn for Williams. So doubling it up into that slot, great play. Now Williams in a fantastic position to take this game. The only thing is, there's always Rock Slide.
Where there's a Rock Slide, there's a way, and of course Blizzard can also possibly pick up some freezes now that the Mystery Terrain is gone as well. So Ashton does have some outs here. It's never over if there's the Rock Slide button and your Pokemon outspeed the other Pokemon on the other side of the field.
Yep, Arcanine though, going to switch out, preserve the Intimidate for later, just sacrificing Togedemaru here. I like this play.
Yep, going to sacrifice the Togedemaru in order to get a free Intimidate. The Rock Slide connects on a Celesteela, picks up the KO on that Togedemaru, and now is Celesteela going to be able to move, whether with the freeze on the Blizzard or because of that Rock Slide flinch. Here we go, the Blizzard connects and hits that Celesteela. It looks like, all right, Ashton's extending the handshake right there, and Celesteela goes for a Heavy Slam into that Garchomp slot, picks up the KO, and that leaves Arcanine and Celesteela left to deal with that Ninetales. And, well, it looks like William Tansley is going to be moving on to the top cut.
Yeah, really exciting there. William looks like he's already, you know, seeing himself in the top cut. With this victory, you could see the emotion coming out of him, how happy he was. You know, not getting frozen, not getting flinched, seeing that Celestial get that attack off, clinched him this game number 2 and is clinching him a spot in the top cut.
Yep, and well played from both players, you know. William Tansley played that absolutely brilliantly, like we said, in Game 1, preserving that Arcanine, not leading it blind into that possible Braviary to give it that Defiant boost, and then preserving that Tapu Fini very well going into Game 1, and saving it for the end game where it had a great matchup against Garchomp and the Hariyama. Going into Game 2, I think William just picked his leads exceptionally well against Ashton's.
Yeah, William just ended up playing this match perfectly. He recognizes win condition each of the games. Tapu Fini has a great matchup against Ashton's team. Celesteela as well was very tough for Ashton to deal with, and William played around the Scarf Garchomp perfectly. That's one of the weaknesses of Scarf Garchomp. Once you know it's Scarf, it's so much easier to play around, and you can really put your opponent in tough situations.
Yep, and there you have it. The Arcanine gets the KO on that Ninetales, and you can see the joy on William Tansley's faces. Not faces, but his singular face. You know, elation, joy, and congratulations, William. You have made it to the top cut